Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to explore one of humanity's most extraordinary historical mysteries, the origin of the world's very first urban civilization. This story is for Level 4 learners, so I will use sophisticated vocabulary, nuanced expressions, and complex sentence structures to help refine your advanced English comprehension. This story explores how nomadic human groups first transitioned into complex city-states along the fertile banks of ancient rivers, laying the foundational groundwork for modern human history. Let me present the historical evidence clearly so you can ponder how our distant ancestors built the foundation of human culture. Let's begin. For the vast majority of human existence, our ancestors lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, wandering across vast landscapes in small fluid bands, entirely dependent on the immediate bounty of nature for their daily survival. For tens of thousands of years, this precarious way of life remained fundamentally unchanged, defining human culture, social structures, and technology. Then, approximately 10,000 years ago, a subtle yet monumental shift began to unfold in a sun-drenched region of the Middle East, known today as the Fertile Crescent. Driven by changing climatic conditions and the gradual domestication of wild grains, human communities began settling permanently in fertile river valleys, initiating an unprecedented transformation that would forever alter the trajectory of our species. Among these emerging agricultural landscapes, no region proved more pivotal than Mesopotamia, the ancient Greek name for the rich, alluvial plain situated between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern-day Iraq. Here, the annual flooding of the twin rivers deposited nutrient-rich silt across the flat plains, creating agricultural conditions of extraordinary productivity. Yet, this environment presented a profound paradox. While the soil was immensely fertile, rainfall was scarce and unpredictable, and the rivers frequently flooded violently, destroying fragile crops and settlements without warning. To survive, let alone thrive, in such a challenging environment required far more than individual agricultural effort. It demanded large-scale cooperation, sophisticated engineering, and the systematic organization of human labor. It was precisely within this challenging environment, around 5,500 years ago, that an enigmatic group of people known as the Sumerians materialized in the historical record. Their precise geographical origin remains one of archaeology's most captivating, unresolved puzzles. Unlike their neighboring Semitic-speaking peoples, the Sumerians spoke a language isolate, a linguistic anomaly completely unrelated to any known language family, past or present. Some scholars speculate that they migrated into southern Mesopotamia from the mountainous regions to the east, while others propose they arrived via maritime routes across the Persian Gulf. Regardless of where their journey began, their arrival in southern Mesopotamia marked the dawn of what historians unanimously recognize as the world's first true urban civilization. Before the Sumerians, human settlements had consisted of modest agrarian villages, where social roles were relatively uniform and simple. The Sumerians, however, envisioned and constructed something entirely unprecedented: autonomous, sprawling city-states such as Uruk, Ur, Eridu, and Nippur. At its height, the city of Uruk boasted an estimated population of over 50,000 inhabitants, an astronomical concentration of human life for an era when the entire global population was a tiny fraction of today's numbers. Walking through the bustling streets of ancient Uruk, one would have encountered an intricate web of human activity entirely alien to earlier generations. High mud brick walls encircled the city, offering security from external threats, while massive irrigation canals crisscrossed the surrounding farmland, directing river water to fields of barley, wheat, and sesame. The sheer scale of Sumerian agricultural production generated something revolutionary: a reliable economic surplus. For the first time in human history, not every individual was required to spend their days foraging or farming for food. This surplus acted as a powerful catalyst for unprecedented social stratification and specialization. Skilled artisans began forging specialized tools from copper and bronze. Weavers produced textiles from wool. Merchants organized long-distance trade routes reaching as far as the Indus Valley and Anatolia. And administrators oversaw the complex allocation of resources. At the apex of this developing society stood a powerful class of priest kings who claimed to mediate between the mortal realm and the erratic, formidable gods who controlled the elements. To glorify their deities and demonstrate the authority of their leaders, the Sumerians developed architectural marvels known as ziggurats. These immense, stepped pyramid structures, built from millions of sun-dried and baked clay bricks, dominated the flat Mesopotamian skyline. At the summit of each ziggurat rested a sacred shrine dedicated to the patron deity of the city, such as Enlil, the god of wind and storms, or Inanna, the goddess of love and war. The ziggurat was not merely a place of worship. It functioned as the political, economic, and administrative heart of the city-state. Within its sprawling temple complexes, priest bureaucrats collected agricultural taxes, managed public granaries, and organized public works projects that required the labor of thousands. As these urban centers expanded and economic transactions became increasingly complex, the Sumerians confronted a practical challenge that would lead to their most enduring legacy: managing the distribution of thousands of bushels of grain, herds of livestock, and trade goods exceeded the capacity of human memory alone. Verbal agreements and simple tally marks were no longer sufficient for maintaining order in a complex economy. In response to this administrative necessity, around 3200 BCE, Sumerian temple accountants invented the world's earliest known writing system, cuneiform. The evolution of cuneiform represents a remarkable intellectual milestone. Initially, Sumerian scribes used sharp reeds to press simple pictorial symbols into wet clay tablets, creating visual representations of physical items such as sheep, jars of oil, or measures of grain. Over centuries, these literal pictograms underwent a dramatic transformation, becoming increasingly stylized and abstract. Scribes pressed the wedge-shaped edge of a reed stylus into clay, forming complex combinations of wedge-mark signatures. Crucially, cuneiform evolved from a purely accounting tool into a full phonetic writing system capable of expressing abstract concepts, complex philosophical ideas, legal codes, and poetic literature. Through cuneiform, human thoughts and historical events could, for the very first time, be preserved across time and space independently of the living voice. The invention of writing opened the floodgates to an extraordinary golden age of intellectual achievement. Sumerian scholars developed sophisticated mathematical systems based on the number 60, known as a sexagesimal system. This ancient mathematical choice persists directly in our modern world today, explaining precisely why we divide every hour into 60 minutes, every minute into 60 seconds, and every full circle into 360 degrees. Sumerian astronomers meticulously mapped the movements of planets and constellations across the night sky, creating detailed lunar calendars that allowed farmers to predict seasonal changes and schedule planting and harvesting with remarkable precision. Sumerian society also pioneered formal legal traditions and written codes of law, establishing codified rules of conduct long before the famous Law Code of Hammurabi was sculpted in neighboring Babylon. These early legal texts addressed property rights, commercial contracts, marriage agreements, and penalties for personal injury, reflecting a society striving to maintain justice and stability amidst the complex friction of urban life. Furthermore, Sumerian culture produced humanity's earliest surviving literary masterpiece, the Epic of Gilgamesh. This profound narrative, inscribed on 12 clay tablets, recounts the mythic adventures of Gilgamesh, the heroic king of Uruk, as he embarks on a futile quest for immortality following the tragic death of his beloved companion, Enkidu. The epic explores timeless, universal themes of friendship, mortality, human vulnerability, and the search for lasting meaning in an ephemeral world. Despite their monumental achievements, the Sumerians lived under the constant shadow of profound vulnerability. The Mesopotamian environment, while fertile, was inherently unpredictable and fragile. Severe droughts could devastate agricultural yields for years, while catastrophic floods could sweep away entire settlements, an environmental reality vividly reflected in Sumerian religious texts that describe a colossal primordial flood sent by angry gods to wipe out humanity. Furthermore, because southern Mesopotamia lacked natural geographic barriers such as high mountain ranges or expansive deserts, The wealthy Sumerian city-states were constantly exposed to invasion from nomadic tribes inhabiting the surrounding hills and deserts. Simultaneously, the autonomous nature of Sumerian city-states proved to be a double-edged sword. While intense competition between cities like Lagash, Umma, and Ur fueled rapid innovation and artistic expression, it also generated relentless intercity warfare. City-states fought bitter, bloody wars over scarce arable land, vital water rights, and trade routes. Centuries of continuous conflict gradually exhausted their resources, fractured their political unity, and weakened their defenses against external threats. By around 2334 BCE, an ambitious Semitic ruler named Sargon of Akkad capitalized on this internal instability. Unifying the Akkadian-speaking populations of northern Mesopotamia, Sargon launched a brilliant military campaign that conquered the Sumerian city-states one by one. Sargon established the Akkadian Empire, recognized by historians as the world's first multi-ethnic territorial empire. Although political control of southern Mesopotamia shifted from Sumerian to Akkadian hands, the conquerors did not destroy Sumerian culture. Instead, they adopted Sumerian cuneiform, preserved Sumerian literature, and absorbed Sumerian religious traditions, blending them with their own culture to create a rich Mesopotamian heritage. Centuries of intensive irrigation, combined with the hot, arid climate, led to a slow catastrophe known as salinization. As river water evaporated from agricultural fields year after year, it left behind minute deposits of salt. Over generations, the salt concentration in the soil rose to toxic levels, rendering once bountiful fields sterile. Wheat production collapsed, forcing communities to rely entirely on barley, which was more salt-tolerant, before agricultural yields declined beyond recovery. By the early 2nd millennium BCE, the Sumerian language ceased to be spoken as a living vernacular, gradually replaced by Akkadian and later Aramaic. Yet, Sumerian did not disappear entirely. Much like Latin in medieval Europe, Sumerian remained the sacred language of religion, science, scholarship, and law across the ancient Near East for another 2,000 years. Scribes in Babylon and Assyria continued to copy ancient Sumerian texts, preserving their wisdom, mythology, and linguistic structures long after the Sumerian people themselves had assimilated into neighboring populations. The story of how the Sumerians emerged from the shadows of prehistory to construct the world's first civilization offers a breathtaking perspective on human adaptability and intellectual courage. From an obscure origin in the ancient past, this remarkable people transformed a marshy river valley into a vibrant tapestry of cities, laws, literature, and science. They confronted colossal environmental challenges not with retreat, but with extraordinary collective organization and groundbreaking innovation. When we write a sentence, check the time on a clock, read a work of literature, or look up at the stars, we are engaging directly with an intellectual legacy first forged by Sumerian thinkers along the banks of the Euphrates more than 5,000 years ago. The origin of Sumerian civilization teaches us several profoundly important lessons that resonate powerfully across thousands of years of human history. First, human progress often emerges not from ease and abundance, but from the necessity of confronting and overcoming severe environmental constraints through collective ingenuity. Second, the development of writing and record-keeping is a foundational watershed moment, transforming knowledge from an ephemeral oral tradition into a permanent, cumulative human heritage. Third, complex urban societies depend fundamentally on social cooperation, legal frameworks, and shared cultural narratives to maintain cohesion amidst diversity. Fourth, even the most formidable human civilizations are inherently vulnerable to the long-term ecological consequences of environmental degradation and unmanaged resource exploitation. Now, it's time to learn vocabulary from today's story. Paradox means a situation, person, or statement that seems to combine contradictory features or qualities. Example, Mesopotamia presented a paradox of rich soil and scarce rainfall. Isolate means a language with no demonstrable genealogical relationship with other languages. Example, the Sumerians spoke a linguistic isolate completely unrelated to neighboring tongues. Surplus means an amount of something left over when requirements have been met, an excess of production. Example, reliable agricultural surplus allowed people to specialize in non-farming roles. Stratification means the arrangement or classification of something into different groups or social levels. Example, economic surplus acted as a catalyst for social stratification. Ziggurat means a rectangular, stepped tower, sometimes surmounted by a temple, in ancient Mesopotamia. Example, the Sumerians built massive mud brick ziggurats to honor their deities. Cuneiform means denoting or relating to the wedge-shaped characters used in the ancient writing systems of Mesopotamia. Example, scribes pressed reed styluses into wet clay to create cuneiform script. Sexagesimal means relating to or based on the number 60. Example, our modern division of hours into 60 minutes derives from the Sumerian sexagesimal system. Ephemeral means lasting for a very short time, transitory. Example, the epic explores the human search for meaning in an ephemeral world. Salinization means the process by which water-soluble salts accumulate in the soil, damaging crop growth. Example, intensive irrigation led to severe salinization that rendered the land sterile. Vernacular means the language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular region. Example, Sumerian ceased to be spoken as a living vernacular, becoming a language of sacred study. Try to use these words in your own sentences. This will help you remember them. Now, let's practice speaking together. Repeat after me at a natural pace. The Sumerians built the world's first urban civilization. They transformed dry river valleys into fertile farmland. Their mysterious language remains an unresolved linguistic isolate. Agricultural surplus allowed for specialized human professions. They constructed colossal ziggurats to honor their gods. Cuneiform was the world's earliest known writing system. Their sexagesimal math system still structures our measurement of time. Intercity conflicts gradually weakened their political defenses. Soil salinization eventually undermined their agricultural foundation. Their intellectual achievements laid the groundwork for modern human society. Practice these sentences a few times. This will help your pronunciation and your fluency at this advanced level. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this story today. I hope it inspired you to reflect on the deep origins of human society while enhancing your advanced English comprehension. Now, I have a few reflective questions for you. What aspect of Sumerian innovation, whether writing, mathematics, or urban planning, do you find most impressive? Why do you think human civilizations so often emerge along major river valleys, despite the environmental risks? In what ways do you see the challenges faced by ancient Sumer, such as environmental sustainability and resource management, reflecting our modern global issues? Please write your thoughtful responses in the comments below. I would love to read your perspectives. If you found this story engaging and educational, please like the video, share it with fellow learners, and subscribe for more easy English stories. Take care, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.